Hello and cosmic blessings, everyone. This is the Seed People Spotlight. My name is Naraya, and in this series, I introduce you to some of the incredible, amazing, and diverse, very diverse seed people that are, in one way or the other, associated with the Turning of the Ages Mystery School. Today, I have the wonderful privilege to be here with Mary Kern. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Naraya. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to get to see everybody here today. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, for me, it's really so much fun to do this series and just simply get to chat to everybody once in a while and ask them weird and wacky questions about why they are associated with this school and what they find interesting about that. And so, with you, Mary, it's going to be very interesting. I know that today. I mean, you are not only, of course, a certified TOTAMS astrologer. You have also been you are a past president of the school. You are a member of the council and have been for many, many years. You are a very avid content creator, as in you appear on many of our equinox and solstice seminars together with Daniel. And you also do the beginner circles we offer to people who are new to this specific astrological paradigm. So, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? And there's really this invitation to make it yours and tell whoever is watching this what you think might be of interest to them.
Thank you, Naraya. Well, I didn't go off looking for an astrology school. It was probably the furthest thing from my imagination. I did meet Daniel and Kaylin Castell when I went to I went to two trainings at Gabriel Cousins' Tree of Life in Arizona. And one of them was ASEAN history, the other was the healing techniques of the ASEANs. I read about a 3-day workshop that was being held there the weekend after I was leaving. And something just really drew me to it. It was very unusual. And I really pondered it because if I stayed, I would have to change the airplane tickets, get boarding for my dog, jump through a lot of hoops. I honestly had never taken more than 3 weeks off of work in my whole life. So
Mhm.
that was, so I, I asked my guides before I went to sleep to give me some sign in the world of form if I really was supposed to stay there for this. I woke up from a dream that I went home, went back to my job, and started bleeding out of my nose, my mouth, and my ears. And I thought, gee, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I do want to stay here. And that's just that when I remember how this all started, it's very interesting to me that Source really wanted me there. It was an amazing weekend. The paradigm is so layered and so not necessarily complicated once you know it, but from a beginner's mind, it's kind of like, wow. So I sat rather spellbound for 3 days, knowing that I really didn't get a lot of it. Went home and kept being pulled. And I started doing readings with Daniel. And again, I knew so little that my participation was at a very low level. But then something said, commit and do this. So
Mhm.
and there was a sense of urgency. So I started going to the desert for these 4 or 5 day workshops. At that time, the only way to learn this was in person. This was back in like 2011. And we did a lot of night sky work. There was a lot of magic that happened there. I went to once in a lifetime witnessing in Hawaii of Venus transiting the sun. I think
Mm, mhm.
I think that was really a big opening in my life when I did that. It was one of the first things I did. And that was a deep way of honoring the mother, because Venus, as we know, represents the divine mother, the divine feminine. And I did all the courses in about a year and a half. Um, I spent 2 months just cramming and studying the information to such a degree that my vitamin D level dropped unusually low because I was on the computer constantly for that time. Um, and then it just kind of transformed my life. I am a Scorpio rising. I was brought up in the Catholic Church in Omaha, Nebraska, and nothing could be further than my original tribe's belief system than what I was choosing to do.
Mm.
Um, but I had kind of been exploring different paths of spirituality since I was a very young adult. It started, of course, in the Christian church, but then it went to Taoism, Buddhism, non-dual um, Shaivism, and so there was definitely a pattern that was leading me along. And this I really see as a spiritual study because it is
Mm.
about how the divine manifests into form and how we're all given a path to take us back into oneness. And it's imprinted right there in our natal chart. And what could be more beautiful?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I love that you're saying this is also a spiritual path, because obviously it's a big uh, uh, aspect of the school that even though this is astrology as such, I always say, well, this not only astrology, it's so much more. It is the ceremonial approach, it is the spiritual approach, and uh, it flows into each other, as we know, astrology being the highest of the lower mysteries. So it is a very initiatory path to do that. And then ultimately, if one goes to the certification level, whatever we want to call it, then also be able to assist others in, first of all, discovering and then leaning into their blueprint, what path, whatever we want to call it, right? And
mhm.
maybe to chime in with that, I mean, people might be wondering about my funny little window shutter here in the background. So I'm actually calling in from somewhere in the heart of Africa. And Mary, you are in California, right?
Northern
So
California. Yeah, yeah.
we're really crossing vast expanses of time and space here. And just to say that also here, when I arrived here just about a week ago, um, people are so thirsty. Whoever I speak with, they are so thirsty to understand more about their blueprint, about their, we can call it chart, about whatever is written in that chart, about the soul's intention. That this particular paradigm of the totems astrology so beautifully highlights and reveals for everybody. And so that's my big pull to this paradigm and to this school as well.
Yeah, it's
And so, Mary, you and I, no, you still wanted to say, add something to that. Go ahead.
oh, just what the meaning of it being the higher of the lower mysteries is that it incorporates all of the lower mysteries, all of the geometry and the physics and the history and the higher mysteries I've been exposed to more lately as well. And so the blending of working with grace, working
Mhm.
with the divine, and then being able to use healing energy along with looking at a chart is just very dynamic because one complements the other in such a beautiful way. So yeah, I have felt really inspired. I felt really blessed. I felt very expanded. These have been the gifts of learning this paradigm. And there's times of struggle, but there's the times of triumph are even bigger. And being able to give purpose to events in people's lives that at the time were very difficult to integrate and move forward from gives you such a sense of not just magic, but healing. It is very healing for people to know that their chart actually confirms that they weren't being punished, that this was actually a path their soul chose, and that it has taken them where they are today, and that it was a blessing. So
Mm.
yeah, I've had really good feedback from some of the people that I've done consults with, and it's rewarded me as much as it's rewarded them. I would say that.
Mm. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and be more tuned in, tapped into what you were saying right now. I recently came across an expression that I really loved so very much, and that really applies to this whole study of the paradigm and looking at the chart in this way as well. And that phrase is divine contentment. So you were speaking about the challenges and also the triumphs, and they are all there. And for me, it is knowing this path and being able to align with this path and the energies and the initiatory windows that present themselves on this path leads to this in the Asian Indian culture, they call it santosha, leads to this ultimate contentment. So whether it's you're in a phase of a triumph or of a challenge, whatever you want to call it, positive or negative, emotional or circumstantial things that are happening, there is this undercurrent of, yeah, this is the path, and I know I'm floating or walking or crawling sometimes along this path, but I know that this is the path, and I know that this is where I am meant to be. So I find that extremely soothing for the soul. And you and I, we met amongst other occasions at the Faywood Hot Springs live event that we had in October of last year, so just about not quite half a year ago. And obviously, that is also one of the things that are, in a way, very unique and special about this school, that after the unfortunate time in human history where people were not allowed to get together for live events, that has been revived within the school. And so there have been 2 live events, in-person events last year, and the second one was the Faywood Hot Springs one where we met. And there's another one coming up in June, which is the annual gathering, TOTAMS gathering, and that's going to be at the Callanish Stones. So maybe, I know you've been to the Stones, I've been there as well once, but not within the context of the school. And I have heard whispers that you have some quite interesting anecdotes about what it's like there. So I would love to hear some of those stories.
Oh, Naraya, I think what's I'm looking forward to going there for a 3rd time with the school is that we're going in a warmer season of the year. I know the first time I went and I was leaving the Glasgow airport, the customs person looked at my ticket, saw where I was going and said, "Oh, it's not cold enough for you in Glasgow." And
What time of year was that?
oh, it was in the springtime, and we're
Mm,
going more in the summer for the summer solstice now.
mm,
So I'm looking forward to seeing the change of the season there. And both times I was there, it was cold and it was rainy, but it's beautiful. And the
mm,
experience at the Stones, the first time I went, I literally, you know, I've had a path of really reacquainting myself with my own intuition and listening to signs, because I guess like many people, I was learned to ignore them or to turn them off. But I put my arms around one of the stones in the first trip, and I asked, what is it that I'm supposed to learn here?
mm,
And that night in my sleep, I woke abruptly feeling like I was having a heart attack. It didn't frighten me because I realized I was getting an answer, and it had to do with my heart.
mm,
Uh, and now that I've studied energy medicine and many of the more contemporary understandings of how we connect with the multidimensional realm, it is through the heart. It's through a portal in the back of the heart. And again, when we became so linear, we lost contact with this information. So yeah, and 6 months after that event, I had a very heart-wrenching, heartbreaking experience in my life that took me a while to recover from. But I started slowly to break from this very analytical, very left brain, very research-oriented individual. And I realized that it was a bit of an addiction, and that it was a way, in some ways, of numbing or protecting myself from my own feelings. So
Yeah.
I was being forced to feel. And I think that that's a lot of what's going on in the world right now as things are dissolving. People are experiencing that in many ways. The most unusual thing that I did experience there was the last day on the last trip when we had gathered. We kind of have a habit of gathering on the last day at the stones where the mother, the maiden, and the crone are represented. And we kind of align to our inner other. It's what the school calls the sacred marriage work. And we
Mm.
individually speak how we're integrating the two parts of ourselves, which is the architect, the archetypes of our masculine, feminine, represented by the archetypes that Venus and Mars were in at the time of our birth.
Mm.
We were standing in pouring rain and wind like crazy. It was very windy there. Somehow I had been fooled to think that the clearing that had happened as we were driving there was going to remain, and I left my rain gear in the bus. So of 20 or so people, I was the only one that wasn't protected by this. And honestly, as I was waiting and listening to everybody else's sacred marriage, and being pounded by the rain, I kind of pondered how I would pack all these wet clothes for our flight back to Glasgow in the morning. But then I went into this pure reverence, this pure
Mm.
heartfelt gratitude for where we were and what it represented, and all the people that had come thousands and thousands of years ago to honor the sacred feminine there. And I stayed in that place until I was called to give the last presentation. The sun broke through, and as soon as it was over, people who had been standing in the rain for almost an hour headed for the bus. And when I got on the bus, Daniel went to ask me something, and he touched my shoulder and then drew back in shock and said, "You're dry." And I was. I mean, I
Mm.
felt my pants clinging to my skin while I was standing up there, and I'd felt my hair plastered to my face. And when I went up and touched my hair, it was completely dry. And
Mm.
the only other thing Daniel said was, "You had to have been in a portal." It was one of the most profound things I've ever experienced.
Mm.
And and that is the power of the stones. That is the power of the stones. I'm not telling you if you go that you'll experience something, but many people do. And there are other worlds and there are portals to them. And it is, spirit makes a believer out of me by having me experience it. And I guess I'm
Mm.
grateful for that. But
Mm.
I also know that, I was actually on my first trip reading um, several of the books about the Outlander, which kind of tuned you into the magic of it and the history of it and the maybe folklore of it. But there really is something there. And I'm looking forward to whatever happens this next time. It's,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is magic. I mean, I am a great fan of the Outlander series, as is Daniel, as are many other people, whether it's the books or the TV series. But for those who have watched this, it's important or interesting maybe to know that the center stone in the Outlander stone circle that enables the main heroine to time travel is actually fashioned after the central stone in the main Callanish complex.
Mhm.
So the entire stone circle is kind of taken as or modeled after that. So I have been to the stones in Callanish once, and I didn't know anything about anything back then, but we happened to, so we were island hopping with our children and Land Rover and little mini caravan and just wild camping on the beaches. And so we happened to pass by there at Callanish as well. And it was the warmest summer in Scotland I've ever experienced. I've been up there many times in the summer, and we had like 30 degrees beach days and camping on a beach with nothing else but us and the whales and the dolphins basically waving at us. And so we happened to be there during the Lunar Standstill season, which I, as I said, knew nothing about at the time. But we did see the moon come up out of the belly of the old woman of the moors, which is that hillside at the on the horizon from as seen from the main Callanish side, and saw it rolling across and then setting into her, I think, her third eye again. So it was just pure magic. Even when I stepped into the stones, it was like there was immediate recognition. I knew them. I knew these stones. I knew the place somehow. And there really is deep, deep magic available there. So maybe just to put that in here, the event that we are having at the Callanish Stones is June, oh, ouch, 19th to 26th this year. And I think we do have 3 or 4 maybe places left. So if anyone does feel called to still say, whoa, I want to go there, get in touch straight away, please. And you can find the event on our website as well. If you go to the calendar page and then scroll down to that time period, you will find it there. You will find all the information and also who to get in touch with and how to put a foot in the door if that's what anyone fancies out there. And yeah, so as I say, it's been absolute magic. And I don't know, have you met Margaret Curtis in person, Mary?
Oh, yeah, twice, both times. I
Oh,
have
you
lots of
have. So
pictures.
yeah, maybe you can, describe a bit or tell people a bit who she was and what that was like, because I think that's also such an interesting part of it all.
Well, Daniel had her as a special speaker. She has really spent her life, her and her husband initially, studying the stones, doing diagrams. I think, as you mentioned earlier, before came on this, that she was scientifically more interested, more skeptical. She discovered some of the stones were under the ground, and I believe facilitated on, revealing them. It's amazing that one person in such a remote area of the world could dedicate themselves to something that so few people really not only knew about, but even cared about. So I feel a lot of gratitude towards her. And I know Daniel does too. And I'm really glad I can just feel her spirit even talking about this right now. That
Mm-hmm.
it was, she knew how important it was. And we're all in our own way helping to bring the divine feminine back and anchor it into the earth plane more. And that was most likely, the biggest role of her life. Ours, mine in shamanic astrology is really, I think, besides clearing my own personal stuff so that she can be more available to me, is helping people know their life purpose, helping to know what their soul originally intended, because we can, I think, be so distracted by what other people expect of us, what our parents expected of us, what our culture expected of us, that we really aren't doing our heart's desire. We're not following that intent. And I think what a gift to give someone. And it's not too late, no matter how old anybody is, to really have that awareness. So many people really intuitively are pretty much on track. And so
Mm-hmm.
even affirming that for people is very validating. Or even, or so many people are called to have readings because they have a lot of a lot of experiences in life where that feels like the rug gets pulled out from under them. And these are the people that are most curious about, well, why does this happen all the time? Is this punishment? Did I do something wrong? And it
Mm,
isn't. It's a soul agreement. It's a way of, it's kind of a fast track in some ways because it shakes you up at a soul level enough times that you go through many layers of what it is you need to give up to become who it
mm,
is you agreed to
mm,
try to be here. So,
mm,
and that's been my life experience. And I love
mm,
working and helping other people with that, same understanding of themselves to feel understood when maybe they don't feel understood. I find it an oddity when I do a consult for someone who has kind of a path in life, one that's less challenging.
mm.
And I think that's because those people are less interested in getting the lowdown of
Yeah.
understanding their soul at a deeper level. It,
Mm.
uh, but
Yeah, I want to really point that out here as well, that you do offer readings to people. So if anyone would like to go deeper in there with you, they can find you. Do you have a personal website? I know definitely they can find you via the Turning of the Ages Mystery School website. We have a tab there that says offerings, and under that there is certified astrologers. So Mary has a listing there. You can find her there. But do you have any other way that people can contact you if they so would like?
yes, I do. I think they're both listed on the website, but my personal is just my name, Mary, middle initial J, last name Kern, Kern, at gmail.com. Um, and sometimes I respond to that one faster than Turning of the Ages, but I definitely do check both. Yeah, I would welcome contact from anybody that's just interested, period. I love talking about shamanic astrology to anybody. I think that um, it's not something that I don't have a website, though I am preparing one, and it will be, the
Ooh.
intent is to include my energy healing
Hmm.
along with the shamanic astrology 3 years and have certified with her. And um, I did, you like to have a toolbox that has ample tool in it. And my whole life and everything I've done in my life has been about it. And that's been the main thing that has held it all together.
No, that's incredible. So I'm realizing my internet is a little bit wobbly here, so I don't know. You are frozen right now, Mary. I hope you will come back in a moment. Yeah, there you are back. My internet is a bit wobbly, so I don't want to keep it to it too long, so as not to get too much into a risk of crashing here. I'm in the middle of, as I said, the heart of Africa, where literally at night the hyenas are laughing or cackling, whatever you want to call it, and the hippos are belching. So the internet is not as strong as I'm normally used to, but it's still good fun to do this from here. So there are two questions, Mary, that I love to ask everybody I get onto this series. And the first one is obviously what out of the entire body of knowledge of the totems paradigm, sorry, what has it been, if anything, that has been most impactful for you personally? I know you've already mentioned partly the inner sacred marriage work, which has come up over and over again in this series with many other participants as well, and is also very, very important for me right now. But is that kind of your, where you say, yes, that certainly has been the most impactful for me, or whatever might it have been that has been most impactful for you?
Definitely. And give an opportunity last.
You are freezing again, unfortunately. I don't know whether I'm freezing as well, but
Just Capricorn, the previous Venus cycle with the overstory Capricorn was my personal one, and my birth date was right at the gate of death by intent, and what followed after that has changed my life. It has cleared a lot of ancestral trauma that both parents and both just carried, and it's brought me to a new place of freedom. But just following that cycle, and this time getting to do it with other members of the school, it available for other people to understand it, has been wonderful, because it's been a joint effort. It's been a labor of love, and the information, if people are tuning into it, I think they're all really growing from it. So I think that the school's understanding of the Venus cycle is magnificent, and it's life-changing.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Also, maybe for people to know that we do have an intention to open up our current Venus cycle group once more. Venus will go into the underworld, Mary, at the end of April. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Almost into May, I believe. I think
Yeah, and then eventually come out again. And so when she comes out of the underworld for the ascending journey, there is an intention to open up this group again. So if anyone is interested in that, please watch out for the information coming forward in the newsletters that I normally send out to anyone who subscribes every fortnight for the new moon and the full moon. So subscribe to that newsletter as well if you feel so called. And so a final question, Mary. Yeah, no, you still want to say something else? I have one more
Yeah,
question.
I pulled that up when you said that, so that we inform properly on that. Because thinking about that, is from April 28th till July 11th, just to be clear about that.
Oh,
So
July even. Yeah. Oh, okay.
so that again.
I
You're
don't
right in
know.
front.
You're frozen once more. I don't know whether you can still hear me clearly, but we did. This information will obviously be communicated to everybody as time goes by. And so my last question before maybe my internet crashes altogether, let's hope and pray it will stay, is there anything in the current astrology that you would like to point out or comment on, or you find particularly powerful or interesting? I mean, I know when this video goes out, you will have done already with Daniel the equinox seminar on the astonishing April astro events, and I recommend everyone to watch this. These events are always free of charge, available on our website, so everybody can look at that as well. There's so much goodness in there. But is there anything maybe from that list or anything else that is especially potent for you or important for you?
Happening in April, and Uranus in Taurus become conjunct. And I'm important from the past. I know this, something that's been lost for a very long time. But my chart is kind of like a pinball table. So it's also hitting my Venus with Pluto. It's also aspecting, I wouldn't say hitting, it's aspecting that, my Mars and my ascendant in Scorpio. And I'm already feeling all of this, I can tell you. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, and I'm because both Jupiter and Uranus and for whatever Pluto is all involved in it for me. I think I'm to a point in my life where what doing are going to relationship with Pluto. At least I also say this past week I had a 5 out of nowhere, 8 to get and Uranus was on my south node. It made complete sense, and I had to laugh when I saw it. So yeah, it's really neat to have your life reconfirmed by the pattern that you find in our beautiful celestial sky. Anyway, thank you, Naraya. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you too, Mary. Thank you for all the wisdom you always bring, your beautiful, I mean, intuitive and very deep understanding, especially of the archetypes. I mean, you know it all, the entire paradigm inside and out, and you've practiced it for such a long time. But I've always appreciated, you know, the depth you bring to the insight into the different archetypal expressions of of every one of the signs. And so that's obviously the cornerstone and maybe the absolute foundation of the paradigm, to have this understanding. And it's great that you're also bringing that to the beginners calls, so people are well taken care of if they want to participate in those. Okay, so thank you. This was an absolute pleasure. I hope the recording comes out okay. Thank you to everybody who was watching this, showing an interest in our Seed People Spotlight. And watch out already for next month. I've got someone very special coming on. I'm not yet revealing who that special seed person is. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Mary Kern, one of the seed people, and I'll put the link to Mary's profile on our website below this video, and I also put the link to the reference to the seed people and what that all means in the description box below, as well as to some of the events we mentioned. So thank you, and bye for now.
You have a good night.